Yo, what is up? It is your friend, y'all homie, Damian Howard here with another Village Talk segment. And I am so happy today that H-Town is all in this space, representing, letting it what it do. Village Talk, y'all, is a space that's all about us coming together and having conversation that is all oriented around what can we do, who can we become in order to be a blessing and be vessels that are supporting the young people within our village, within our local geographic spaces, and beyond that. And the reason I emphasize and beyond is because Linda, who you all are going to meet in a moment, already has a national program, whereas they're taking advantage of the day and age that we're in, that virtually you can meet, virtually you can make impact and change lives. It does not just have to be in your neighborhood. She is literally taking that concept of village and saying, I'm not going to have any limits. My village is this whole nation. And, knowing now that she is Nigerian and from the continent or has origins, I would say, in the continent of Africa, maybe she's going to take it back home and be a blessing, to Nigerians as well, or even beyond that. So I don't know. With all of that, Linda, I hope, you are ready and able to go ahead and unmute if you need to unmute and jump in there and introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. And not the Lord speaking to you, because I know that eventually Sisters in Faith will be global. But just a little bit about myself. So I was born and raised in Houston, Texas. Both of my parents are from Nigeria. So I am first generation that was born here. And so, growing up, I grew up in a Christian household. We was in church every single Sunday. We didn't miss a Sunday. But honestly, I really didn't understand my walk with Christ. It wasn't until I was much older that I had my encounter with the Lord and I started to go on a journey. And I remember thinking, like, God, I wish I understood this much sooner. Like, imagine if I met you when I was like a teenager. Like, the things that I would have probably stayed away from, the mistakes I probably wouldn't have made if me and you was locked in from early on. And I think that's where just my hunger just started to kind of start and just ignite for me to bring Christ to the youth. So growing up, I've always been a lover of children. I love kids. Like, I always knew I wanted to work with kids. I didn't know to what capacity. I was always trying different things, but it always brought me back to children. And so I did teach for about 7 years before stepping away from the classroom. And even when I stepped away from the classroom, I still had a burden. I'll never forget, like, I literally cried because I was like, I think I just messed up, like, my purpose in which I was called to, because I know I'm called to children. And so in that, I got into mentoring with Big Brother, Big Sister. And so I did that for a few years, where I then started to feel like, I feel like I'm supposed to create like a Christian version of this in a way. And so that's where Sisters in Faith was birthed. And so basically, Sisters in Faith is a mentorship program for teenage girls between the ages of 13 to 18 to truly go deeper in their walk with Christ. So a lot of them, like, oh, yeah, I know who Jesus is a little bit. And some of them, like some of the girls in the program, their parents don't even go to church. It's a desire that they have, that they just been feeling like, oh, I want to learn more about God. And so every single Saturday, we have a Bible study lessons where we just go through different lessons, like, who is God, like, as our Father, just his nature, his characteristics, and then from understanding God, helping them to understand themselves, because we know we're in a day and age where between social media and all of these things going on is really um, infiltrating the minds of our children. And so, even just being able for them to figure out their identity before the world tells them is also crucial as well. And so, we just go through so many different lessons to help them to understand who they are through Christ, as a daughter of God. And we also then have one-on-one mentorship. So each girl is paired with a mentor that they meet with on a weekly basis. So in that mentorship, it's just reaffirming their walk with God. Just this year alone, we've had so many different discussions and things happen through that one-on-one mentorship where girls actually feel vulnerable to be able to say, look, this is something I'm dealing with that they can't talk to their parents about, they can't talk to their friends about, and they really are looking and seeking help. And so we are able to step in as their mentors to not only just talk about it, but pray with them about it, bring scripture to it and really deepen their walk with God even through that. So we are always constantly praying for our girls. We meet up
Yeah.
once a month to cover them, their families, all of that. So it's more than just a mentorship program. It's really a spiritual thing.
I hear that, and I wonder, how do you maintain the confidence in allowing your faith to be so upfront, to be so central, and to be so integrated when the truth of the matter is, as a 501(c)(3), when you start to try to go and get funding and you try to find different partners, it might put you in a place, I hope it doesn't, but it might put you in a place where there is a bit of a struggle to get to a place where, like you said, this could be your full-time thing that you're doing. Get to a place that you're going from 9 girls now to 90 in a, coming year. Because again, you're a virtual program, so you have that capacity. But a real huge thing is that funding piece. And I feel like I already know what you're going to say, but I want you to speak to that. Like, yeah, what allows you to keep that faith, that boldness, that even though it might be a struggle for me to be a faith-based program, a faith-based mentoring program, and go and get funding, I'm still going to commit to this. Talk to that, whatever reply or response you have to that.
Yeah. So Matthew 6:33 says, seek first the kingdom of God and everything else will be added. So I know that as I'm putting his work first, God is going to make a way. Like to the point where I started to kind of talk, me and my co-founder started to talk about wanting to do a conference. Out of nowhere, one of the girls' moms who actually lives in Houston, we had a conversation about her child. We prayed and all of that. She let me know, like, hey, if you ever want to do a conference, I have a church you can use. Like, just let me know. And I truly believe because I am doing the work that God has called me into it, he's going to open up doors. He's going to provide, like, I'm not even stressing about that. I'm not even stressing about it because I've even seen how just people just like, I even had someone a few weeks ago like, hey, I have a whole bunch of skincare stuff I want to donate to your girls. Like, so you can make like little welcome baskets or little things just to donate. And this is not even me reaching out to people. People are coming to find me. So I know that God will make a way as long as I continue to do the things that he called me to do.
Yeah, it's interesting because a part of my work also is really trying to work with local ministries, local faith-based organizations, and help those folks with capacity and with time from local churches to actually be the people who are pushing into school and offering the mentorship. So I love everything that you're doing. I love your commitment to faith-based mentoring, and really, and I've actually done some reading on this recently. I really do think that if we actually start looking at the grades and looking at other like life factors for young people who are discipled, who are in faith-based programming, that you'll start to see that these kids are thriving and winning at a level that's beyond maybe some kids who aren't exposed in this way. So once more, if nothing else, I just honor and salute you for that resolve and that commitment. Because listen, I know myself. It's times where I feel like even as a person of faith, I gotta kind of like be less overt with that part of my work because it's just like I want to make myself available and open up for it. So I got to remember that piece of Matthew that you calling out, that you trying to remind me of, like, hey, bro, it's gonna be all good. Anything else come to mind as we're talking here for you?
Yeah, because even just what you mentioned about kids being able to perform at a better level when they have Christ at the center, I feel like so many kids, like I mentioned before, this time more than ever, kids are truly dealing with spiritual warfare. It may look like anxiety and depression is, what the world is calling it. But on the back end, for a lot of believers, we know it's spiritual, right? And so being able to get our kids in a place where they truly like start to depend on God and start to understand like prayer and reading scripture and just putting that in the center, not to say the spiritual warfare is going to stop, because we know that that's not how that works. But it just gets them in a place that's more confident. And so instead of allowing those things to drown them, they'll be able to like really call on God. So for instance, my mentee, I remember when she first started, just speaking to her mom, because we do develop a relationship with the parents as well. And so she doesn't live in Houston, she lives in Indiana. And so she spiritual warfare, just between anxiety, depression, they even tried therapy, and therapy wasn't working. And when I tell you, because our program is 28 weeks, so we're probably like week 22 currently. In the 22 weeks that me and her have been working together, I kid you not, that is not the same girl that I met, to the point where like I'm honestly blown away. And her mom sends me messages all the time like, you don't understand how grateful me and my husband are, because we have seen such a quick turnaround in her confidence, in her self-esteem. She had dropped out of school prior to Sisters in Faith. And, just with our mentorship, just learning about who she is, me just pouring into her, she went back to school. Not only did she go back to school, but she's doing amazing in school. A lot of the times when she still like deals with anxiety or things like that, we've talked about tools on how to help that, like whether it's bringing scripture, reminding her of what God says about her or situations, and she's doing a better job of handling that. So instead of just pumping our kids with medicine, and I'm not saying that medicine is just something we should not do, because I do understand, like for some people, medicine is necessary, but also teaching a practical tool on how to also combat those thoughts is really important. So that's also something that we have done and taught our girls as well.
How are your Nigerian roots important to you in any way? And how do those roots show up and how you show yourself to the world? In my first time meeting you and interacting with you, I feel there's a confidence that you exude. I know a lot of that is steeped in your faith and your belief system and practices that are entailments of your faith and your belief system. But I wonder, even with your ethnic identity, does that play a part in who you are as well?
Um, for sure. I feel like, oh, Nigerians, I love my people. I promise I do. But we are raised with a type of pride that I ain't never seen before. Like I know Americans, they be like, the home of the free and the brave, but Nigerians, and then the fact that they were able to bring that same to a whole nother country and they hold on to it. Anytime you meet Nigerians, they don't water down who they are. They don't water down their culture. In fact, like when I tell you in Houston, there are so many Nigerian restaurants that you can go to. Like they bring the culture anywhere that they are, and they are unapologetically themselves. And I feel like that's how I was raised. That's how I was taught to be. And honestly, I see that in my day to day, like just being unapologetically who I am. I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't always like this, because for when I was growing up, I did not want to tell nobody I was Nigerian. Like they would talk about you. Oh my gosh. But the older I got, the more that I started to really embrace, like, no, like this is who I am, and I'm going to, be proud about it. So yeah, it definitely helps me with my confidence and just really understanding who I am, understanding my roots, understanding, my culture, like just all of that definitely plays a part.
Which one of those is your favorite Nigerian restaurant and why?
Ooh, okay. Aria Suya Kitchen on Westheimer. Ooh, the food is just flavorful. I love jollof rice, plantains, a goosey soup, oatmeal. What? I'm getting
That's
hungry
what's
just think
up.
about it.
Yeah, I went to New York City. They got a restaurant in Times Square. It's like a restaurant slash club. And I'm just
Legos?
like,
Is it
huh?
called Legos?
Yeah, 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 yeah. You already be knowing. And I mean, I just had that was the highlight of my whole trip. You know what I mean? And I look at my plate. I'm like, who in the world is about to eat all this food? I guess me, right?
Right.
So so
I know
so
you
we
was
had
tearing it up. That food is so good.
yeah. So tell me this. What happens when you engage, or let me ask the question this way. I wonder, have you ever encountered in your interactions with maybe parents, other students, different people that you try to collaborate with, is there any pushback on your version of mentorship that's so overt with your faith? And can you talk to us about how you navigated that?
Yeah. And so, funny enough, no, honestly, most of the time, whenever I present anything I'm doing, people are excited about it. And it's more like, oh, no, we need more of this in the community. We need more of this at this time. I will say, we have tried to partner with churches. And I do understand, like, churches, you got to think about it like past that's their sheep, right? And so sometimes them being able to relinquish their sheep to people they don't know, it's kind of like, I don't know you know. So I get that. But other than that, anytime that I speak to anybody about it, granted, I haven't really went into schools or anything like that as of yet. Again, with this being our pilot year, we just kind of wanted to see what worked, what didn't work, what changes to make, because basically how the program works, every September we'll start a new class. And so once this class ends in April, then we'll kind of use the summer to kind of figure out, okay, what are our new strategies and things like that. But yeah, most of the girls who are currently in our class, it was literally, they say like, I had one parent tell me, I don't even know how I found out about y'all, but I just found y'all. And I was like, oh no, that was nothing but the Lord leading you there. So we haven't really had too much pushback, honestly.
Yeah, and I didn't ask you this yet, but what's the age range of the girls that y'all serve?
So it's 13 through 18. Just again, as me being a teacher, you see that that's the most crucial years of a young lady trying to figure out who she is. And so we can catch them at that age to like really rewire their thinking.
Yeah.
We know that we set them up for success because at the end of the day, if the enemy is going to steal your purpose, he starts with you as a child.
Mm. 13. What's one of the, if you can think of anything, what's I don't want to say the biggest because it's not like what you're going to tell me. Maybe it is steeped in research, but like what's one thing that stands out in your mind, which is a huge challenge that young middle school grade, about 13, 14 age, young girls are faced with in 2026?
A lot of it is self image,
Mm,
identity and self image. I think that, again, I taught in middle school for a few years before stepping out. So a lot of them, between looking around and seeing what other girls look like,
yeah.
now again with a heightened, social media influence, a lot of girls are comparing themselves to what they see. And they don't feel good enough. They don't feel valued. They don't feel smart enough. And so a lot of that is started to trickle in into the way that they start to view themselves, the way they carry themselves. Like, um, if you see a lot of culture, it's a lot of cursing people out, and to
Yeah.
the point where I have to tell girls, like, no, 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 no. As a young lady, that's not how we carry ourselves. Like, I know that's what y'all see on TV. That's not what we doing in real life.
Yeah.
So just having to really work with them to not only again pour into their confidence and their identity, but also even just teach them how to be a young lady. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
well, it's one fascinating thing that I'm seeing talking about social media and things of that nature. I don't know if Cardi's gonna go through with it, and I don't even necessarily know if this is her with all of the AI out there, but I heard she was gonna like reverse her BBL, and some people are like, man, it's time to tone some of that stuff down, right? Because I've been fed a lie, and I don't want to like. It seemed like you're ready to jump in there. So I just wonder, like, what's this new trend that's coming where it seems like some of that like over sexualization or over alteration that seemingly people are reversing away from that and simplifying things a bit.
and like I told my girls, like we've told them before in class, like if you follow the trends of the world, you always going to feel like you need to catch up.
Mm,
So it's like 1 minute it's like, oh yeah, natural bodies are in, woo, and then next
yeah.
minute it's like, oh yeah, BBLs are in, woo, and that's why you have to have a foundation of what you believe and what you stand on, because
Mm,
today is gonna be this, tomorrow's gonna be that. So it's like instead of following the world and the trends and what they
mm.
got going on, figure out yourself, stand on your firm foundation, and don't waver from that because the world is fleeting. It's always going to be something
Mm.
new, So yeah.
And at some point, if you want the BBL or the silicone enhancements, the Botox, like nobody down and bashing that. But I think what I hear you saying is do it steeped in like a sense of what you want, like self-pride and like I'm doing this for me type joint versus I'm seeing everybody else doing it and I'm just following trends. So that's my thought of it.
A lot of it is deeper. When you start to
Mm.
really identify a lot of the people who, when you start to deep it, it's like some type of self-love is missing there, right? And
Yeah.
so just being able to kind of go deeper with those wounds, you'll start to identify like why people even feel the need to do these things.
I told you I was in Europe not too long ago. It looked like you got the Eiffel Tower behind you. Why you got the Eiffel? Is that one of the locations you like to frequent?
Honestly, my favorite place that I've visited was between DR. Australia was just something different. It wasn't
Okay.
necessarily like my favorite. It was just kind of something I wanted to do. But honestly, my South American region, oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I've been to Colombia, DR,
yeah,
Cancun, Cabo, like those places. Oh,
yeah,
Jamaica
yeah.
was also a good time.
Okay, that's what's up. I love that. I love that for you,
Yeah.
that you've been able to, get out, explore, and see the world. So we're at a part in the segment whereas I want to really tap into your imaginative mind and give you a magic wand in that space. And with said magic wand, if there is something that you could enhance or change so that your girls can be better supported, better protected, have a better sense of their identity and who they are, any and all things considered, what would you use that magic wand for?
That's a good question. Um, I think it would be, so I know when you spoke about funding, like I said, we haven't really dug too deep into funding because we are virtual. But if I could have a magic wand, it would definitely be funding to be able to bring all of our girls together because they don't all live in the same state. But just being able to do some type of retreat where we could all meet in one spot and just have like an amazing weekend where they get to, because we also do want to build community through Sisters in Faith. So yes, here in Houston, I think we have about five, 4 or 5 of the girls who are from Houston. So we've done like group meetups here in Houston. But then, our babies in Florida and Atlanta, and they don't get to participate. So if we were to able to just have funding to be able to fly the girls and their parents out to just have like a weekend where we can all like get to know one another and just really bond, that would definitely, that's what I would say.
I love it. I love it. What's your favorite show or favorite book right now that you're engaging with?
You know what's crazy? I don't really watch TV.
Okay.
I do not watch TV. And if I do watch TV, I'm watching like old shows like
Okay.
Bernie Mac or like King of Queens. Like
Okay.
I'm watching old stuff. And then as far as book, I actually just finished a book yesterday and it was like a Christian fiction novel.
Mm.
Um, it was really, really good. So I just finished it. I literally was saying this morning, like, oh, I need to find a new book to read. But yeah.
You ever do a self-help? I feel like that's the genre for whatever reason that I gravitate towards.
Yeah, not
Not
necessarily.
necessarily.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
no.
love that for you because it's just like, yeah, like let me kind of switch it up. I'm always in spaces that's about like developing the brain, and it's like you're exercising a different part with like some of those fictional books. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
something recently that I've wanted to tap into more myself for sure.
Yeah. And I don't mind like the self-help books. Like I've read a few. Like a lot of my books honestly were like more so like kind of like I don't know what genre. I know they're Christian based, but I don't know if they're Christian self-help. I don't know what the genre is. But I definitely was reading that to where I was like, I just want to turn my brain off. I feel like there's a lot going on in this world right now. I was like, I just need to turn my brain off and just, read something that's light. And so I started reading that book. I was like, oh, this is so good. So yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, Linda, I'll tell you, from the moment we got on this Zoom, felt an aura and energy about you that I have no doubt that when you show up for these young girls and as you're training volunteers and even some of the young girls to be peer mentors themselves, I trust that the energy, the presence, the confidence and commitment, all of those things, right, that you embody and personify, that the girls are not only receiving this, but it's like an infusion, right? That's happening because for you, which I understand, it's bigger than you, right? It's beyond you, and you really are a representative or a vessel that's allowing, again, your faith and your God to work and flow through you as you show up. And I just trust that some amazing, transformative type of stuff is happening with these young girls. So just excited to just stay on a journey with you. I know you're in a bit of a startup phase and stage right now, and we can already see it. And when I say we, myself, the viewing audience, your village that you're going to share this with, we already see you going from 9 to 90 to 900 from the United States to beyond, because you got that type of ministry and that type of, might I say, anointing on you. So I ain't got to tell you to keep it up because I already know you're going to. I ain't got to tell you, you know what I'm saying? Don't get discouraged because I know you won't. You know what I mean? That's just how you naturally showing up anyway. So it's all good. I want to give you any final word that if there's anything for folks who might watch this, young or old, that you would want to share with them as parting words, what might that be?
I really want to just encourage everyone just to really pour back into our youth. Again, I feel like at this time, I don't know about y'all, but I feel like I see so much about youth, like whether it's killing one another or doing this, it's just been so much surrounded our children. So, however, you can pour back into the children around you, it doesn't even have to be like, oh, you finding strangers. It could be your nieces, your nephews, your own children, just pouring back into our youth. It is so important in this day and age. So, yeah.
Well, Linda, this has been a privilege, and this has been a just an amazing time sitting with you, learning of you, and learning of your work. Again, I know I gave you a chance to give parting words, but real quick, jump back in there. Let people know where they can find you if they want to engage with you.
Yes. So sistersandfaith.co on all platforms. So sistersandfaith.co is our website. It's also our Instagram, our TikTok, our Facebook. So we kept it simple. That way it was no confusion. So sistersandfaith.co. And I know like on our Instagram, we post like different tips and tricks that even parents can use to engage with their daughters. We also have a newsletter where we send out, of course, what Sisters in Faith is all about. And we also include a parents corner, like, okay, if you're having trouble with your daughters opening up, here's some tips and tricks that you can use and things like that to help parents really engage with their children outside of even if they don't sign up for Sisters in Faith. So we're those are our platforms where you can find us.
Wonderful, wonderful. Um, Linda, like I said already, it's been fascinating learning of you and your work. For our village who watched this segment, I know y'all got some really cool nuggets as you heard Linda's story and you learned of the unique way that she's approaching mentorship and discipleship and sharing her faith and sharing her life and exuding confidence into these young girls. I trust that you all were encouraged by what it was that you all heard, and we will see y'all next time. All right, peace.